I'm Wes Buckwalter, the owner of SeaMonster Studios. We've been at it for about 14 or 15 years now. Spend most of the time playing the role of a creative director or client wrangler or cat herder, but a little bit of a jack of all trades within the company and try to stay out of my team's way most of the time. SeaMonster Studios is a full service agency, meaning we deal with everything from graphic design and print design to branding and strategy, content, as well as web design and web application development of all kinds. I think what sets us apart most is that we tend to be pretty customer service focused, and so as a result, we found that our clients kind of respond very nicely to the fact that we speak sort of plain English and can solve their problems. In general, anything in the digital or graphic design world, we can generally handle. We used a myriad of tools in the past, and I tend to be a bit of a SaaS enthusiast, I guess you would say. So I've tried many project management and resource management tools, and I think over a while we sort of perfected the workflow that we needed surrounding the tools that we had, and then after some period of time, realized that we had a bit of a bloat within our systems. We were using a certain project management software, we were using a different billing and resource management software, a different line level accounting platform, and realized that, we're just sort of spinning up way too many tools to get the job done. And what we needed was something that sort of reduced that tool set, but at the same time didn't increase our, lack of efficiency or otherwise. And then something as a business owner that was really important to me is this idea of efficiency and opportunity cost, and trying to figure out, when it comes to person hours being put towards a project, are we spending our time efficiently? Are there opportunities, if we look at projects as an aggregated whole, that we can reduce the time spent on projects and become more efficient at our work without losing effectiveness? And at the same time, making judgments on, specific team members. For example, if one developer spends 10 hours on a project, what's the opportunity cost for losing that 10 hours on a different project? And is there ways that we can sort of assess the things that we're tackling to a degree where we can figure out, across a myriad of projects, is there an opportunity to say this developer seems to be more efficient or effective at these type of projects, or this designer is working better in these style of projects, and can we use that data to our advantage to decide, who gets delegated to what task, and at what point do we decide, this person is the right or wrong person for a job, and at the same time really just get a stranglehold on our schedule. I think at the end of the day, any business like ours has clients that they have to be beholden to, and so oftentimes we're waiting on clients for responses and wondering, where is our time gone? And so trying to get to a point with a system like Forecast where we can kind of make smarter determinations about those kind of things. How much time can we spend per week actually accomplishing work? How much time do we need to spend dealing with internal things or client communications? And actually having some hard numbers and data that allow us to make those decisions rather than sort of just moving with our gut feelings or, on a knee-jerk reaction or something like that. So spent a lot of time researching various platforms and found Forecast, and it seemed to sort of hit many of those nails on the head. I think something that's really important to us is understanding how our time is spent and how we can reduce that time being spent without reducing the quality of work that's going out the door. I think the outcomes for me are that I'm getting data that I was looking for, by building spreadsheets and, working with pivot tables and all sorts of other tools that, were a little bit time consuming and tedious. I think in general, my employees might say otherwise, but I'm able to sort of see how they're spending their time in a more granular way. And so at any given point, like if we start sliding out of control in a project from a time or usage utilization perspective, we can kind of assess that much faster and sort of deal with it, as the case comes up, rather than sort of reassessing after the fact in some kind of a burn down or something. But I think, at the end of the day, it's probably given me ultimately better control over how my employees are spending their time, and whether, as the creative director, I'm choosing the right people for the tasks that we're assigning to folks. Something else that we did in the transition to Forecast was shift our entire workflow to the agile process. And we sort of had an awkward split somewhere in the midst of waterfall type projects and agile projects. And those two things, I think, variably disagree with each other in a lot of circumstances. And so as a result of switching entirely to an agile process, I think it's made us sort of better at our jobs. I think we manage our time a little better. We understand kind of the workflow that needs to go into each week, and maybe schedule people in such a way that they don't feel overburdened from week to week as well. I think forecast makes that generally pretty easy for us to deal with. And as we adapt into that process change, I think it's just the tool that will be usable for those purposes, I suppose. One of the things that I thought forecast did very well was onboarding. I mean, the sales process was easy, in the sense that we had already sort of investigated forecast, had gone through a bit of a trial. I think the sales folks that we dealt with, EB in this case, was really made it easy, I guess. I appreciate working with another software company who sort of fights the same battles as us as well. And so, right out of the gate, we were talking to engineers or onboarding people and so forth about, wouldn't it be great if it did that, and sort of kind of had some nice opportunity to implant some insight into what we think makes it valuable for us and have our voices heard a little bit. As a small agency, dealing with somebody that's this mammoth company, oftentimes it's like, yeah, great, just keep paying your monthly invoice and, we'll do whatever we want to do. I felt like forecast actually at least, did a great job listening to the things that we thought would make the software important for us. And in some cases even implemented some of those things. So I think that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's certainly a nice ego booster for me. I think also onboarding was really strong. I felt walking away from the onboarding process, our team was equipped to do their jobs within forecast and turn all of the dials that needed to be turned to make it an effective piece of software. And so, rather than say jumping in through a 5-minute video or tutorial or something, we actually felt really equipped to use the software effectively right out of the gate. All in all too, it's pretty looking software, and that makes, as a designer, makes it a lot easier for me to use. I think I've found that effective software oftentimes for me means that it also has to be fun to use and interesting to look at and things like that. And so I think, its UI design is strong and things like that. And at the same time, it just does its job. I mean, for the most part, it's been a good experience, from a bug-free experience to a doing what I expected to do kind of experience. And so all in all, I think just the nature of the software, its sort of agile evolution over time as well, and then, the refinements that already exist there have all culminated to a pretty grand experience overall. I think we just sort of dove into baseline as well, which is a relatively new feature. I guess it's in beta right now, but we were lucky enough to get kind of an early beta look at it. And it agrees very much with the way that we sort of build and price our proposals and things like that. And so it felt like just a natural step to kind of dive into this new feature as well, trying to figure out if we're billing on an agile process, also at a time and materials rate, how do we estimate that to a client? How do we also sort of devote a specific block or amount of time to any given project when we have many projects spun up? And so figuring out, can we actually pull this process off, and do we have enough hours in our week or day to do all of these things with the various clients, or do we have an opportunity at the beginning of a proposal process to explain to a client, your project can start at this time, or we can put this much time per week or per day into it, and have a more intelligent conversation with the client about, the effort that we're going to devote to them based on the resources that we have available. It also, I think, has helped me out in figuring out, when we need a new hire, what gaps do we have to fill, or more likely, what overflow do we have to offload onto a new person in the company. We think forecast is pretty sweet. I think all in all, I really enjoy working with the staff that's communicated with us. The tech support folks are great. We've experienced a couple of 24-hour turnarounds on a bug or a glitch that we've encountered, which is pretty amazing for software these days. I think at the end of the day, it's obvious that everybody who works at Forecast that we've dealt with is enthusiastic about the platform and the software. It sounds like everybody uses it as well, which is nice to see. I mean, I think it's often that we've encountered tech support folks who have no idea what the software that they're supporting does. And so it's kind of a breath of fresh air to be sure that we've got support teams that actually know what they're doing and can kind of support us in the small instances that we need it. And then likewise, I think the resources that we've been given through training and sort of just ongoing, let's say not tech support style support, kind of how do we do this kind of questions and things like that, I think has been really strong as well. So I feel like there's a sort of less than or different than average sort of approach to customer service that I think agrees with our philosophies on it as well.